say, like, there's an element of the unknown. It's like, oh crud, what are we in for? Welcome to the office. Today we have a special guest named Maria Beltres. Good afternoon, Maria. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Theresa. I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing well. The kids have been crazy, but they are watching a show right now. So hopefully they don't come and make their appearance. But if they do,
Oh,
it's just what it
the
is.
same here. So I relate.
Yeah. So you're a mom too,
Yes.
and you have a business. Could you tell us a little bit about your business?
Well, actually, I just started my business not too recently. I have in the past worked with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and CEOs from different backgrounds, um, like engineers and consultants. And it's over a decade now, and I've both as like work experience or like volunteering or like a side hustle thing. And I've grown to learn a lot, and I have seen a lot of things that has really touched my heart. And I was like, I'm doing this anyway, so I might as well just start my business. So that's where that's what I did, because I've
I
been
love it.
doing a lot of side hustle stuff. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that you knew, like, you already had these skills that you were gaining from working with other people. And so now you see that there's a need and that you can fulfill it. And so you've chosen to do that with the skills that you've learned along the way. How cool is that? What has been maybe the biggest excuse me, what has been maybe the biggest hurdle that you've had so far? Because you're in the beginning stages. So this is a really exciting time for you. So what has been kind of your struggles so far?
oh, it's been a journey. That I always say now to those who want to start after me. And if I encounter anyone, I say you either have to invest time or you invest money, right?
Mm,
Because if you want to start your business, you're going to have to invest your time into learning the essentials that you need, and it's going to take a while. And I chose that route for many reasons. So I couldn't really choose the invest in money option in the beginning, but that um, took me through a process of figuring out my niche and figuring out what I need to do, how I should proceed, how I should even start everything. So
yeah.
it took me, I think, good. Oh my goodness. Like I have had so many ideas over the years, and it's always like God has been putting thoughts in my head, ideas in my head, and I always be like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. Thank you, God. And I just start to write it down, and then it just goes away. I don't take action on it. So I, I just sat with me last year and be like, you know what, I'm gonna take action. I just wrote down everything that came to my mind, started to pray, and as I was praying, I was receiving many more ideas, started to write everything down, and
Mm.
then I had to figure out my niche, which was fun by myself, because it was like, okay, what do I do and what am I good at? It's just so
Yeah.
many things out there, so many resources in the online space right now. You
Mm.
can just get lost in the sea of it, right?
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so my hurdles has been right from the beginning, trying to figure out my niche, figure out how to start everything, what should be my best route, who should be my coach, you know, all
Yeah.
those stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally get it because I did the same route. I took
Oh,
the
you
same
did.
route. I did. Yeah. Um, and for my reasons for that route is I didn't know at the time that there were coaches to invest in, for one. Like I just didn't know what I didn't know. And then two, I knew I was being called to the coaching consulting space, but I didn't know really in what capacity. And
Yeah.
I have a big background as a teacher. I taught for 10 years with a district here in elementary school, and then I moved to online marketing when I became a mom as in an MLM type thing. But through that, it's like I knew I was being called to something, but I didn't know what. So yeah, kind of like that same journey. Like even some ideas would come, but then they would drift off. But you know, Maria, I kind of think that's a part of the journey, and maybe one that a lot of people don't really talk about, because everybody wants to show the success that they've had, right? Very few really show those beginnings and what it looks like. But I think that God actually does give us these little seeds for us to not necessarily to learn everything about, but like to prepare us for the next part that he's going to give us. And even if it's just a thought, like having that thought in our head then prepares us for what's coming next. And so even with you, like it's cool to see like your whole journey as an employee moving into the entrepreneurial space. God has continued to give those little seeds, right? And so now you are understanding how all of those have come together. And can we just talk about niche for a minute? Like, do you feel
Sure.
like you have your niche dialed in yet?
I think so, at least for now, unless God tells me otherwise. But everything is just flowing, like I wouldn't even
Yeah.
think, like, for instance, my website domain name, for instance, just something very small, right? But I'm like, what should I choose for my domain name? Oh, what should I choose for my company name? And then I went through series of it. Oh my, I was just like brainstorming ideas, and it was just, and I just want to, I stand by the what we are as an essence of us, right? Like who we are from inside out. And I
Mm.
started initially saying, okay, you know what, I'll start as inside out, but it's like, no, it doesn't sit well with me. And then, yeah, but then after, I just felt like I just happened to choose a domain name, and I just happened to choose the company name, but I didn't realize it sat well with it. It just I know it sounds weird, but in the flow of it, you just get so drained by the decisions. You just like, you know
Yeah.
what, I'm just gonna pick it. And then later, it was just last week actually, I was just walking down the street and I realized, oh my goodness, the name of my my company actually sits well with what I am
Oh,
standing for all this while, and
so
I
good.
know I've been wanting to do it for a while, and that's what I wanted my company name to even stand by.
Say your company
But
name for us.
yeah, sure, it's Inner Essence Studio.
Inner Essence. I love it.
Yes, yeah. So when I started it, I don't know how I even got to it. Right now, if you ask me what was my thought process to get to it, I'm like a series of just brainstorming and writing down. And in the end, I just chose something. But then I realized it just sat well with me.
So
So
cool.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, there's so many things that you shared in here that I really want to address. Um, but really it comes down to like making decisions. You know, in business, like we can overthink all the time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that my personal clients struggle with is like there's so many decisions to make. And it's like just make a decision because you're not tied to anything. Like we ebb and flow in business just like in life. And so as we grow as individuals, our business is going to grow and change a little bit. And I just love that you just had to choose something and you chose something. And how cool is it that it actually ended up being very in sync and aligned with where you're at right now? Not to say it won't later, but it probably will. And I think it's cool too, because what people don't know about you is you are big on being authentic. And I love this about you because truly every encounter that I've had with you, which has only been a few times so far, but every encounter that I've had with you, I totally see authenticity in you. Just even in your own experience and sharing what you've shared with me so far. I think that's very cool. And that is complete inner essence to me. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
I
it's
love that.
really, yeah, and I think it's so crucial, especially in the world that we live in right now, everything in the online space. Everyone's just so busy pleasing others, and the social media is just all about outside, and you,
Oh,
you
yeah.
forget about who you really are, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And on that note too, I as business owners, when we're trying to grow online, especially, we're being pulled in all these different directions. We're seeing people, suddenly we're exposed. It's like when you buy a new car, suddenly you see that car everywhere. That's actually a part of our brains. It's called the reticular activating system, where you notice something because it suddenly becomes important to your brain. So when we're business owners and we're working online, suddenly we become more aware of things we didn't see before. And we see people that are doing similar line, they're in a similar line of work, or maybe they're not in a similar line, but we just start seeing like, oh, maybe I should be doing that. Or, we start self-doubting or comparing ourselves in a lot of ways. And then the reason I want to bring that up is because it also reminds me of sort of like the self-development industry as a whole that we as entrepreneurs tend to dive into, right? Personal and professional development, which is great, but there is a concern of having too much inner reflection.
Mm.
And so going back to authenticity, sometimes we get stuck in the finding me in this world, but yet having all this input from everybody else that we forget who we truly are, like what was the mission that God truly put on our heart at the beginning? We can easily lose sight of that if we're too far into all of that stuff there. So you're right. Authenticity is big. So one of the things that you had mentioned on your application for this podcast was talking about like helping people with prevent business burnout, especially online. Could you speak a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, sure. So, from what I explained to you earlier, I've worked with a lot of business owners, and I noticed that each and every one of them, like I worked with electrical engineer, mechanical engineers, SaaS providers, consultants, coaches, and even having encounters with other professionals, and I see that they have such an energy within them. They just have so much to give. They really are talented, but then they get caught up in something that I call as a hamster wheel cycle, and it's just like the day-to-day tasks just keeps go. They just get caught up in that and then forget to fix what is essential for them to keep going forward in a less not saying that it's going to ever be effortless, but
Right.
at least in some ways it's going to give you, you don't have to put in that much of energy if you hadn't fixed it, right? And
Mhm.
I like one of the CEO that I worked with, I enjoyed working with him, and he's all about personal development, and if you know about me, I'm also all about that, right? So he said this, I didn't know that there is this picture or concept of a cartwheel. Have you seen that? Have you heard about that? Okay, so
No.
it's basic. I think you can Google it. He actually Googled it. I think he Googled as cartwheel or something. So it's just it's a GIF or a image or an animation. I don't know what it is, but it's a cute little person moving a cartwheel with four wheels in it, obviously, right? But the cartwheel is broken, like the wheels are worn out. Maybe
Mm.
two or three of the wheels are worn out, and the person you can see the person really pushing with a lot of effort and energy, right? And to me, I was like, oh my goodness, that's it. That's what we're doing. That's what the hamster wheel cycle is all about. We are so busy trying to push the cart with so much of effort and so much of energy. But if we can just stop and fix those little wheels, you might still be able to push it, but with less effort, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I was, and I felt so. I really feel it so deep, especially when you have so much of talent and so much to give, and God has given each of us gifts. If you're not able to bring that out because of something like this that gets caught up in our life, in our business, I feel sad. I feel like we can invest and we can harvest so much more if we understood that concept.
Oh man. Yes. I love that analogy. I've not heard that before, but it makes complete sense. And like
Yeah.
that's something that I help with business owners do too. So it's like I totally get this. And I'm like, man, what a great way to paint that picture for sure. And it also brings up the point of sometimes it is important in business to be able to slow down and be okay with seasons of slowing down so that you can speed up later. And in those actually, I just interviewed somebody not too long ago. and inside of our Facebook community. And she was talking about the seasons of business and how we have these seasons that are fruitful and we have a whole lot of sales. And then we have these seasons that are slower, and how important it is during those slow seasons to, I'm just going to connect the two dots here, in those slow seasons to focus on that fourth wheel that's out of balance or out of sync, right? So that you can, when the fruitful season comes, you can bear more fruit because you are like your wheels are working together. I love that. I think that it's so profound. And yeah.
Yeah. And if I mean, if any of you haven't seen that, what you just talked about, that was that an interview you did? I can't remember if it was a
Oh yeah, you saw it. Yeah. Yeah. It was with Katie Alstrom, and she is a money, I want to say like a money mindset coach. Actually, I think she's just a money coach, period. I'll have to look back at my notes.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And actually we could put the link to that in the description of this video too. So if you're watching, want to check her out. She's going to be on the podcast at some point soon too. But yeah, actually it was like, it started as an interview and then she had like a teaching part, and then I came in and asked some questions about it. Yeah, afterwards. Oh, I'm glad you saw that. So what was your
I loved
thoughts
it.
on that?
I resonated with it so much. I actually took back a lot, especially where she talked about the financial aspect, where she said, because again, coming back to our business world, when we see all these offers and uh, packages out there that you see so much, you just get caught and be like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this. But she talked about how if you are in a specific season, and if you're in the winter season, then you can have them all. You can acknowledge that you want all these, but then you can save them up, prioritize for the time that you have some to invest in it, which I really loved. I really loved. I think it's amazing. And I have another metaphor. You probably are gonna, if you keep talking to me, I'll talk about metaphors.
It's great.
There, one of the pastors that I worked with, he like when we were going through a very rough time as a church, we were going through a very rough time, and he talked about this analogy of an arrow, and he said, um, when you pull the arrow back, you feel like when everything is going good, and then all of a sudden you feel like everything is going back, like everything is falling down, and it's just gotten worse than it was before. He brought this concept of how the arrows, when it's pulled back, the more you pull back, the further it goes and the further it accelerates, right? So it says that even though you feel that in a certain season of your life, that just means that there's an acceleration coming. So don't feel sad or don't feel discouraged or depressed that you're in that state. I'm sure there is going to be a breakthrough on the way. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What good advice. Sounds like you've had some really good mentors so far. I think that's really cool. Okay, Maria. So I have to know, what are your thoughts on AI?
AI, oh man, that's just such a big beast right now. Especially coming from like a developer, I mean, with a computer science background.
Yeah.
I think that AI is awesome where it's going to, but we really need to be careful and mindful of, you know, of being authentic, right? Because you can, it's all, I know everyone says, oh, I can do a course with AI, I can do that and do this, so that's amazing. But then are you going to make a difference with that? And how is AI even feeding that information in there, from where? Is that even authentic enough to take it from there? You can take that information just like a mentor. You can take that information, screen it in, uh, you can feed it, like you thought, some time ago. You did a video on Chat GPT, I think.
Yeah. For idea creation.
Yes, yeah. So you just like, you feed it information and you get some information from it, and that's fine. You take that information and you improvise, but then just putting it there and then copy pasting stuff, it's not going to help. Not going to help you and not going to help your audience. You you really want to, because you have so much in you. And if we are, I find that if I'm not put in a place where it's going to extract who I really am from inside, I have so much potential. But the potential that I have doesn't just come out easily. It comes out when someone is in distress and I really need to go and help them and I have to give them advice. Or it comes out when I am going through struggles and I don't know what to do, and then it just be like, ooh, okay. So that's hidden there. And if things like AI is there and you're going to let it feed you instead of you feeding it, it could take you on a different route, basically. So
Yeah.
I think AI, we just need to be very mindful. I'm very, very afraid of how it's going to go. I'm really watching curiously as well. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, so it's such a great topic. Oh my goodness. I think it's an incredible tool. I do. I think it's an incredible tool, especially, I teach a lot on copywriting too. And so like I know that sometimes the best way to write is if we have a prompt. So our brain just needs a little bit of like an idea, and then we can go with it, and then we it's so much easier to flow and create content if we have the idea. But sometimes it's the idea that's the hardest to come up with. And so like having AI, or when people purchase prompts from other people, like that kind of stuff is so helpful because it really can get our brains moving in the right direction. Or like one of the things that I love is I do use AI for certain things. But what I've done is I have gone through my entire business plan. I've gone through and given basically the AI everything about my business and what it stands for and the programs that I give. And so, but from that, I've been able to say, like, help me create a job description of somebody that would encompass this part of this. And so because I don't have any background in that, that has been helpful. However, I have a fear, especially being a coach and strategist in the business, is that, like you said, people are using this to create courses and freebies and books. That's kind of what I'm afraid of, is books. And um like I don't know where all the information comes from. Like it comes from, it's learning, right? And so the learning comes from users, and it comes from the actual tech people that teach it stuff, the programmers. But over time, like there's no way to know like if the content it's giving you is plagiarized, I guess. Like I don't know that. I don't know if I were to say, okay, write a book on these topics, like I have no clue where this information came from. But then also I'm a fraud. At least to my eyes, I'm a fraud. And so I think, especially in the coaching, mentorship, strategy, business world, especially in the online world, I think it could cause issues in that authenticity part that you were talking about. Over time, people might come to this place of like, I don't even know if I can trust online coaches anymore. And so the good thing is, like, for those of us that want to stay true to ourselves and to the purpose that God's put us here, and that we're not going to copy, I think the good news is that we are going to still stand out because we have our own voice. That is one thing that I've always noticed, no matter how much information, and I've given this one particular thread so much information on me, including posts, so it would like learn how I post, like my voice inside of my content, but it still doesn't give it to me right. So like I do think people are still going to know the difference between AI and somebody who's authentic in their copy. But yeah, I mean, it has the potential to taint the industry for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I feel like I use AI too. I use ChatGPT too.
Yeah.
And it's exactly how you say, because for me, it's more about maybe having the right words. For example, like writing a contract. I know I should hire hire a lawyer, but then there are times where I just need like something very basic, and I know exactly what I want. It's just the wording of it that I need someone help me with. So
Yeah.
just feed it, and even with feeding it, like you said, it doesn't give you what you want. Then you
Yeah.
have to take it it does give you a good lot of information, but you take it and then you improvise on that. So I don't think, and the way I understand AI to be, and this will be my end of AI, but the way the way I understand AI to be, it's similar to human beings in some sense, right? The way that, for me, the way I understand AI, it's like how we are, as our brains are. When we are born, we don't have anything in there, but we grasp. We take in a lot of information. When we are babies, we don't talk too much, but we absorb a lot. And then when as we grow, our experiences, our environment, our things around us feed into it, and then makes us who we are, right?
Mhm.
Same thing with the AI, I think. It's just that they a lot of people are putting in content in the Google in the world, right? And
Yeah.
then it's just taking all that information, it's and then making up. So it's eventually going to get to a spot, a place where it's able to answer most of the questions. It does already now. Um, I think it's because of that. It's because it's learning,
Yeah.
like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I haven't had any weird stuff happen. I don't know if I believe all the weird stuff or not yet. Like, I don't know if you've heard stories of of AI doing all this stuff. It's totally possible. Thankfully, I haven't experienced anything bad, and I don't feed any personal information, but there's that weird part of it too. That's like, I want to be careful with what I say to this thing. you know, is that yeah, I don't know. There's so many unknowns. I was just watching a TED Talk actually on the creator of Chat GPT. So
Oh,
it's cool that we're talking about it because it's fresh on my mind. And it was fascinating. It was so fascinating. Um, so if you haven't checked that out, do check that out. But even he said that as the creators, and there's like 200 programmers that work at the company, which is very small compared to something like Apple and whatnot. But he said that even for them, they have an idea of what the future is going to hold for it, but ultimately it is kind of like raising a child. Like you don't know. And so even for him to say like there's an element of the unknown, it's like, oh crud, what are we in for?
yes.
But man, as a tool, it has been awesome. And even with this podcast series, I was just talking to a friend who does YouTube. And so, we're here on YouTube, and it's like, I don't know the first thing about YouTube. And she gave me some suggestions on how to use ChatGPT to help with the descriptions of your video. And I'm like, oh man, that'd be so great. At least as I got started, you know? So there's definitely like
Yeah.
millions of uses
Oh,
for
yeah.
it
It
that can
does the
so
SEO stuff well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a great topic for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, the next question I have for you, I don't know, what is your thoughts on mentorship? I guess I don't have a big question, but it's an important one. It sounds like you've had some.
Yes. Oh, it's very important to have mentors. Very. You can have people in your life who would give you. I Again, I love personal development, so I always stand by people who are in my life who give me that honest opinion, honest feedback, and be a true friend to me, right?
Mhm.
And if I don't get that in my friends or people around me as much as I want them to, so like your mom, for instance, she would say all the good stuff for you, but you really want to hear something with a little bit of a crunch in it, right? So I think mentors are crucial, even if you don't have a business. You
Yeah.
should have a mentor in your life, some sort of a mentor figure in your life. And I think you are an amazing mentor. So,
Thank you.
like you've just I think it's important to see people who are really, again, authentic to what they stand by. And um, you can't really find anyone who's going to practice 100% of what they preach, because we're all striving to perfection.
Yeah.
But when you see, you can tell someone is authentic just by seeing them, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's very crucial for success, for achieving what God has destined for us, whatever God has for us. You know, I'm sure that that is one of the essential part of our life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a huge believer and advocate for mentorship as well. Part of that for me is because I felt for a very long time that I didn't have mentors growing up. I mean, except for my parents, in my crowd of friends growing up, I was usually the leader in most things. And sort of like the moral compass. Not in all areas, but it seemed like at most. And what I found moving from teaching my career into the online sales with network marketing was I was finding like nobody wanted to help. Nobody really wanted to like give their secrets away. And that's how all of this and mentorship became huge on my heart. And
Mm.
um, at that time, because nobody was like wanting to share their secrets, I just had to keep asking because I wasn't in a company where I had a strong team or sidelines or anything. So I had to find and learn everything on my own. And in order to do that, I had to keep asking and finding people and keep asking. And over time, I did find a few people here and there that would kind of lead me to that next step. And then I started this community, which at that time was not uh,
Mhm.
what it is now. It's not productive and profitable. It was this other community for network marketers when it first started. And that's what it was about. It was about sharing what I'd learned and then over time, seeing other people starting to share what they learned. And we had these little accountability tribes, and it was just beautiful. It was so beautiful. And yeah, and over time, it just made sense. We say this what is it, an old adage? I don't know. Anyway, the whole idea of like it takes a village to raise a child, right? But it really takes a village to raise an adult, an entrepreneur, a
True.
dad, a mom. It takes community for us to do well. Like God doesn't want us to thrive alone. He wants us to thrive with others. Um, and so I'm sharing all this to say too, like I love your answer about mentorship in every area of your life. And to add on to that, if we don't have mentors in our lives, or if we like, if people are telling us no, and they're not wanting to help us in specific ways, it really is still up to us to create that. So we sometimes have to be the one that leads the pack in order to find the right people in order to expand. And thankfully now, like I have a beautiful little tribe of my own, and that has been so, so helpful, but it took a long time to find that. And so I'm super excited about you being here, you sharing your stories. I'm so excited about all the other guests that are part of this podcast that are here to really do the same thing so that people don't have to struggle with everything all the time. Like we can honestly help each other out. And when you win, Maria, I win. And when I win, somebody else does. And the more that we do, like the kingdom of God wins. And anyway, that's my
Yeah,
little spiel
you're
on
right.
that.
No, totally. And I love how you touched upon how if we don't have a mentor, it's upon us to do that. It's true. There was a season in my life when God took me through a lonely phase of not anybody around me to give me that I was looking for. And
Mm.
I think maybe I wasn't looking for at that time. I wasn't looking for a mentor because I just probably did not want it. But that was
Yeah.
when when the Holy Spirit became my mentor, right? And showed me things that I did not know about myself. And then I learned eventually to observe things in my life by myself. And even now to date, I do things that I shouldn't do. I should probably, like I realized later and be like, okay, I shouldn't have done what I did. And I trained myself, right? So you're right, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. The Holy Spirit was your mentor. Praise the Lord. Seriously. Oh, one last note on that too. Um, sometimes we have to be the one to create it. That also means like sometimes we go through a period of weaning. No, not weaning. Weeding? Cutting off,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So sometimes we go through this series of parts of life where we really do have to like cut ties with people or things that are not serving us in order for us to be free to end up finding people that are the right people that can guide us and vice versa. So yeah.
I agree.
All right, friends. Okay. What types of systems do you think that, and I don't know, maybe you have some of these already in place for you, or maybe you're building them, but so far, what is your take on the types of systems that people need when they first get started in business to help kind of break through like that fourth wheel that's not going right, you know? What are
Yeah.
some systems you would recommend to people?
I'm actually in a process of creating uh, something that's related. Basically, it's called Strategic Backend 101.
Oh,
So
cool.
it basically talks about how I don't believe in a cookie cutter system. I think that if you are a person who found someone who has a system and they've trained you to follow that system and you worked well with that, that's great, amazing. But in all my years of experience, all the people I worked with, they found it very hard to stick with anything, and found it very hard to even find a system that works for them, right?
Mm,
So I just think that it's very hard to have a cookie cutter system for all of us. If you get it, perfect. If you don't, then I come in the picture. So I talk about, and I am doing that for myself right now. I am constantly, and I have this consciously doing this every day in my business now. Is to try and tailor systems according to our patterns and cycles in our business and what we need for our business. So I wouldn't say to someone that, hey, you need a MailerLite and you need Kajabi. I wouldn't say that, or I wouldn't say someone you need an Asana, right? Um, I would ask them what you have to go through a series of steps, figure out what it is that you're really needing, or what is it that you have. I go through the four needs, haves, wants, and
mm,
desires, and I say that everything, again, going back to that overwhelm. If you don't have systems, there's going to be a time that you're going to feel overwhelmed,
yeah.
right? So if you think from the high level, if you're overwhelmed, there's something that's causing it. There's a human. It's either going to be a human need, a human want, a desire, or a have. So figuring out which one of that it falls under, and then from there figuring out, okay, what is my priority, and then figure out a system that works for you that will fix that, and then it'll have a domino effect on the rest of them,
Yeah.
right?
Mm,
So that's what I say. So when I say essential tech system, I help people figure out what works for them by speaking to them, getting them to answer questions, and telling them, okay, so it seems like you are this kind of a person. So would you be willing? And it's going to be testing and trial. You're never going to get the answer right away, and it's going to be different as you grow. And every season you are in, it's going to be different.
yeah.
There might be a season where I can't work. You just had a baby and you can't do enough work, so you have to get a lot of it automated. So it's going to be a different kind of system for you. And
Right.
then there's going to be a time where you are dry and you're trying to save up money for getting a house, maybe. Then you have to have a different kind of a system that works for you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to really test and improvise as you go.
Yeah. Okay. So, Maria, God has equipped you. Like I already can, like I can visually see like the people that you are going to be helping and exactly how you're going to be helping them. It's really exciting. It's really exciting, and it also reminds me that at the very beginning I had mentioned, like we don't know what we don't know. Like when I started on business, I didn't even know about coaching, like coaching in this capacity. So how was I supposed to find somebody, right? And so, what was my point with this was that sometimes you do have to go out and find the person who knows what you don't know. And so in this case, like you've already listed several things: Kajabi, Asana, I don't know what else you
Name of
listed.
light is
Yes, yeah. So like I know what those are now, but I didn't know what those were a few years ago, right? But I would have needed help with my systems. And so being able to then find a mentor who can help you find the systems that work for you and that's going to stay on your side while we're figuring it out. The other thing here too is on a prior episode with Theresa, which I'll drop in the comments too, we were talking about how working with coaches and mentors is fantastic, but there is an element of strategy. And so like what you were saying about these other people that you've worked with in the corporate world, like they would learn things, but maybe they didn't stick to them because they really weren't systems that worked for them. They were learning new things, which was great. But what they really needed was to learn different systems and maybe choose some that would work with them or choose a different tool. Like you were saying that, this is where strategy comes in because we are not all the same. We're not the same cookie from the same cutter. Some of us are squares and some of us are circles and whatever. And so with that, I found all of that to be super, super important and worth repeating. That even when we work with a coach or mentor, we can take what they learn, but sometimes we also have to like figure out what we're learning, how we can apply that truly to our lives and our business. So if somebody is teaching us about what systems are, they might show a couple different system examples, but we can take what they're giving us. If we're not working with a strategist like you, right? We can take what they're giving us and then we can think like, okay, how can I use what I've learned here and apply it in a way that would really help me? And again, that's why a strategist is really smart because they're not just teaching you, they're really in your business and helping you connect all those dots. So very cool.
I had to go through that process. I did not know, exactly what you said. I did not know what was MailerLite. I don't even know what was an email service provider. And I am a
CRM? What's a CRM?
I know, but I'm a software developer by profession. So you can, I mean, because we never did anything business related, I've only like coded and stuff like that. I never had to go into the business world to figure out what was email service provider and all of that, right? So when I came learning all these things, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so many options, so many coaches,
so many options,
so many courses. What do I need? So I had to go through this whole funnels, I guess, for the lack of better word, just to like drain out everything that is not my option at that time. I probably might need it in the future, but right now I don't need it. So I had to figure it out. It took me a long while trying to figure it out, but if I worked with a coach, maybe that could, like what you do, like if I worked with you, I probably would have understood. You could have told me, hey Maria, there are these and these kinds of systems. I don't know what you're looking for, but you can check it out. Then I might have some sort of an idea, or I can come back to you with questions, but I didn't have that in the beginning, right?
Right. Yeah, so true. Okay, Maria, so what are some of your goals that you're working on over the next, I don't know, 3 to 6 months?
My goals. I really, really am praying about this because I don't know what God wants me to do next. I know that this thing that I talked about, the strategic backend 101, that is going to be something that I'm going to offer because I've actually been recording. It's been a fight trying to record that. But then I think after that, I am going to help out with email service providers. Basically just trying to help because a lot of us are trying to figure out how to set up MailerLite, how to set up a landing page, right? So those little trainings, that's what I'm looking into developing in the future. So if hopefully, if God still wants me to go that route, I will proceed.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting. I'm super excited for you. And I think whatever you choose to do and move forward with, God is going to bless. It's going to be great. So do you have any last words before we wrap up today?
No, I just want to say it has been such a pleasure talking to you here. I enjoy having conversations with people who relate to where I stand and my values and my thoughts and my processing in my head. So it was fun. I really did enjoy it. So thank you for
Oh,
giving
you're
me that.
so welcome. Yes, you're so welcome. And like I said before, every time I've gotten to chat with you, I've just really enjoyed it too. So if you would like to contact Maria, we will have her information in the show notes for you as well. Until next time, we'll talk. Wait, before we go, will you take a selfie with me?
Oh, of course.
Okay, here we go. 3,
How do
2.
we do this? I just
Just
smile?
smile. Just smile.
Okay. Okay.
All right. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
The Productive and Profitable channel is all about helping entrepreneurs grow wildly profitable businesses without sacrificing time with their families or the things they love. And we do this through top-notch trainings and community. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notifications button so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you're ready to dive deeper and take your business to the next level, be sure to join our free business community over on Facebook. Simply visit teresataylorcoaching.com and hit the community tab. We can't wait to see you over there.